Welcome to Player Coach Connection Weekly Chat. This is episode 4. Today we are going to talk about the different levels you can be recruited to. So just a brief rundown. You've got Division 1, Division 2, Division 3, NAIA, junior college. So let's start talking about it, Matt. What are your thoughts on the different levels, and then we'll kind of get into the levels within the levels.
Yeah, I was going to say same thing. Levels within the levels. Obviously, Division One. Typically, those guys are all going to be fully funded, where all their guys are on full scholarships. Depending on the size of the school and the size of the budget, they can get different amounts of cost of attendance. Outside of financial aid and grants and things like that to help the players even more. Have a little bit more money per month. Obviously most people think of Division One, so they have the most money for sure. Division Two.
Yeah, but real quick, so cost of attendance, for those that don't know, is if you don't live on campus, and it helps to pay for rent, it helps to pay for different food, any of your meals and stuff like that. So that's what the cost of attendance helps with.
Yeah, cost of attendance is not exactly sure when they started, but I know in my experiences, helping athletes go Division One has definitely picked up a lot over my past few years of coaching, where it's kind of come into the spotlight a little bit more. Where there's definitely some schools out there. I won't name specific schools, but they could give quite a bit of money per month to help those athletes with rent and food and all those other things. Plus if they're able to receive a Pell Grant, that's even more money on top of that. So it's big for all athletes, and then definitely international athletes that can't receive financial aid. Having that cost of attendance can be a huge bonus for them. Along with a full scholarship is a really good situation.
Yep. Yeah, and then you've got Division 2, and a lot of them are fully funded as well, and they've got a little bit different structure when it comes to scholarships. They do full scholarships, they do some partials and things like that, and it's the same thing. You can get away with, if you are a full Pell Grant individual, you can get that Pell Grant money back, depending if you're a full scholarship or not. Obviously, that bases that, but again, that'll help. The full scholarships, that's what a lot of these international students are looking for, because they don't have the scholarship or financial aid, I should say, opportunities that some of the U.S. citizens do.
Yeah, for sure. Division Two is still obviously a really good level, and they're able to help money wise. Obviously, some of them, depending on the budget, they might not have as big of a budget as other schools, maybe in their own conference or throughout the country. So they might have to be a little bit more creative with things to make sure that they can build a whole roster and have really quality players to compete at the highest level. But that kind of that just depends on the budget and the coaching staff and what they want to do, and the school administration, all those. There's a lot of factors involved with that. So every school, every situation is a little bit different.
Well, and you kind of look at there's people kind of do have that misconception about, oh, you're not Division One, but I mean, you look at some of these Division Two facilities, and they are high level. And same thing with the players that they have. They've got some. I mean, every year you Google, any upsets in the early on in the season, and there's a lot of Division Twos and even Division Threes that'll upset Division One teams early on in the year. So there's and that's in basketball, and there's high level players at every level.
Oh yeah, for sure. There's no doubt. A lot of those Division Two schools, like you said, they can compete. They recruit the Division One transfer portal hard. So they're getting former Division One guys, and then also, sometimes they're getting the JUCO guys that are really good that couldn't quite make it academically, or maybe had issues or whatever it might be, or maybe they were, not the main piece on a really good team, so they get under recruited. I mean, there's different situations. You know, everybody's recruiting's a little bit different, but obviously there's a lot of Division II programs, a lot of Division II coaching staffs out there that do a great job and are able to bring in really high level players year in and year out. And you know, when they do get a chance to play against Division I schools, they can beat them. You know, you see it, like you said, you see it every year. Sure, there'll be a bunch this year of you know, Division II schools. You see it on ESPN or wherever, upsetting Division I schools. It's kind of turned into, you expect it every year now.
Well, and I think with the portal and kind of the way everything has gone and changed in the game, the the gap is not as big as, I mean, it already wasn't huge, but now the gap in level, you know, Division I to Division II is shrinking even more. I mean, you look at the transfer portal and shoot, there's some high majors going after some of these Division II transfers, you know, when they put their names in. So, you know, there's a lot of talent at every level. I mean, I look at a Division III, and one of the that's where I went to school was Division III, and you don't get an athletic scholarship. You kind of go there if you love to play and you want to play and continue on. That's kind of a great route. A lot of times the Division III route, you're going to find players that are a lot more skilled wise. You know, they can really shoot the ball. They're undersized, they, you know, a little crafty. You're not going to get as much of the athleticism and the size that you get at those other levels, Division I and Division II wise, but you're still going to get, you know, really skilled players and, you know, really high IQ and things like that. And that's also a great option. You know, I had a great time when I was in Division III. I loved the experience. You don't have quite as much pressure on you as if you're on a full scholarship, you know, so you can kind of enjoy the college atmosphere and still play the sport you love.
Yeah, absolutely. It's you know, I think at the end of the day, it's what each player kind of is comfortable with, and at the end of the day, there's probably a whole bunch of Division III guys that could transfer up and go Division II, or maybe even go to a lower Division I, or go JUCO for a year and then go Division I or Division II. But they decide, hey, you know, I'm playing a lot. Maybe I live closer to home. You know, it's school's affordable. You know, I like my teammates. I like my coaches. You know, I want to. Hey, I'd rather start for 3 years. You know, and make a huge impact and maybe just chase the highest level and not have that same impact at that level that I'm currently at. So, you know, it depends what everybody's looking for, what makes them happy, what they're kind of trying to chase. So I think that's important, you know, and then kind of leading into NAIA, you know, same type of thing, as Division I and Division II. You know, it depends on the school, depends on the budget, um, and you know, obviously NAIA, they got a lot of really good players too, and uh, it's really like an undervalued kind of level. I don't think people realize how good it is. I can remember even last year, at Indian Hills, you know, I was talking to Hank this morning actually, and we would we would scrimmage NAIA school in the preseason, and they had a bunch of former D1 guys. They were older. I mean, they were big, athletic, skilled dudes. And, you know, you went on the floor. You know, I remember coaching, sitting on the bench, like, man, this is a hutch level game right here. Like, I mean, these guys are good. And obviously they were ranked top 5 in the country all year, and their coaches do an unbelievable job. And they've always done really good year in and year out. So, I mean, I wasn't shocked by it by any means, but that was the first time I had ever coached against an NAIA team, or actually really watched them live. So even for me, you know, being in the profession, you know, 8-10 years, that was a game that I left like, whoa, those guys are good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's tons of talent anywhere you go. You know, to be able to be on a college roster is a huge accomplishment, no matter the level. And then if you're able to enjoy the experience and get a chance to contribute and have success and be a part of a team and graduate, that's what it's all about.
Yeah. And then, I mean, the experiences that we had, you know, our most of our experiences in our professional college coaching has been at the junior college level. And you look at the junior college level, and there's a ton of talent there. It definitely gets a bad rap. Um, it's one of those things that it's like you go into a junior college game and you're looking around and you're like, man, these dudes can play. And I mean, you got high major dudes on rosters. You get it sprinkled in with, some mid major, low major, even Division II, and it just kind of meshes. You just get the best players you can, and they can go a variety of levels. I mean, you look at, our last year that we were there together, we had 3 guys go high major and 3 guys go mid major and a couple guys go low major. And I mean, shoot, we were good. We were really
Yeah.
good. We were
Yeah.
big and
That
athletic.
was that was in the year of COVID where no coaches were allowed to go out. Typically if we had that roster in a normal year, we would have had 5 to 10 coaches in the gym every day, preseason wise, and
Yep.
probably would have had even more guys go to even higher levels, which is obviously you got to pick the level that fits for you. But yeah, I mean, we were talented. I was talking to a couple of my friends the other day, and so my first year you weren't there, but my first year at South Plains when we won the national championship, we had 3 players from our league in West Texas that are either now or have been on NBA rosters.
Yeah.
So, we didn't even win the league. I think we finished tied for second in the league and got hot at the right time and won the region tournament and then stayed hot in the national tournament. But, there was NBA players on rosters in our league that never even made it to the region tournament or never made it to the national tournament.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, and that's just one league in the country. I mean, Chris Duarte at that time was at Northwest Florida. That was the first time I saw him. I think they were playing CSI, or I can't remember the exact school, but we were going to watch, and I remember seeing him like, who is this dude? Like I'd heard about him throughout the year. I'd never watched him live, and we were, focusing on our season. But he ends up being a legit. I think he's an NBA starter now. And so just that year, that's 4 guys that have had NBA contracts, and that's just off the top of my head. Maybe there's 5 or 6. I don't know for sure, but that just shows you just in one year of high level junior college, there's a handful of future NBA guys. So it's JUCO's the same way. Division I JUCO. I was kind of on both ends of it. With funding wise, there's the high level junior colleges that have the high level budgets where everybody, is fully funded. No cost of attendance, but fully funded scholarship wise. And then there's other JUCOs out there, Division I JUCOs that, might only have 2 to 5 full scholarships, and they got to be creative. And then Division II junior college level can't get fulls. I believe they can help with books and some other things, tuition. They can't do housing. And then obviously Division III JUCO, just like Division III NCAA, you got to go more on academic side or use financial aid, or you got to pay more out of pocket. So, but same thing with Division III JUCO. Remember when we were at South Plains, Coach Green would always talk about Tymel Murphy. He played D3 JUCO in New York, was a really, really good player, ends up going to South Plains. They go undefeated, win a national title. He ends up going to FIU, and then he was a really good player in FIU, and now I think he's playing pro somewhere. I'm not exactly sure where, but that's another story. He starts out D3 JUCO for whatever reason, maybe people, I know he's a New York City guy, so maybe he kind of, fell through the cracks a little bit, or, whatever it might be for his situation. He goes to a D3 JUCO in New York, has a lot of success, and then boom, now, look where it ended up getting him.
Yeah.
He's getting paid to play. So yeah, there's guys at every level, man. And there's guys that can really play. And it's pretty interesting to kind of see how much movement there is now, and how, like you said, the lower levels, they can play with anybody for sure.
Yeah. And obviously when we were at South Plains together, I mean, we heard it all the time. Oh, I'm not going JUCO. Oh, I'm not doing this. Oh, I'm not doing that. And I think a lot of times kids fall into those traps of, oh, I'm only going Division 1. Well, you've got a very slim chance, of continuing on to play at any level. Um, but to just limit your mindset to, oh, I'm only going Division 1, like that hinders the ability to continue on playing, and like we've talked about, I mean, there's really good players at every level. And you look at the transfer portal or the transfer list, and there's really good players from Division 2, Division 3, NAIA, junior college, who are moving up to the Division 1 level, getting recruited to some of these high level places. Or there's some that are at the Division 1 level that aren't Division 1 level, and they're getting recruited to, like you said, they're going down to a junior college, or they're going to a Division 2 or a Division 3 or an NAIA. So, there's that movement that's on both sides of it. And I think especially now in the era of, the transfer portal, it's a lot harder to find guys and girls that are going somewhere and staying there for all 4 years. It's just that's more of a rarity than it has ever been.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I
You
mean,
see somebody that's been there for all 4 years, you're kind of looking at it like, man, like what? Like that's weird. Like it's almost unheard of now. So it's kind of turned into almost like a JUCO style. I think that's why I
yeah,
think that's why JUCO coaches that get an opportunity to continue moving up. I mean, you can look at there's lists out there of all the former JUCO head coaches that are now currently Division 1 head coaches, and I mean, a majority of them have big time success, and it's because they're used to rebuilding the roster every year, and they love recruiting, and they love trying to figure out, okay, this piece fits here, this piece fits there, and they're able to put guys in the right positions to excel, and obviously they hire good staff, some guys that go and find those players, and can recruit year in and year out and get the right guys for what the head coach is trying to do, and then ultimately leads to a lot of success for those programs. So I know for me, I always enjoy watching, those JUCO guys that go Division 1 or head coaches, and you see them winning, and you see them kind of doing the same stuff, hitting the transfer portal, or maybe they struggle a little bit early in the year, but they're able to figure it out and keep getting better and keep getting better. And it's awesome seeing them have success, and there's a bunch of examples out there.
yeah, for sure. And then, I mean, you got to look at the levels within the levels as well. I think a lot of times, everyone knows Duke and North Carolina and Kentucky and Kansas, and the list goes on and on, Oregon and stuff like that. Those are the high majors, and then you've got the high major, quote unquote minuses or whatever you want to call it, and then you've got the mid-major teams, the mid-major pluses, then you've got then you've got low major pluses, and you've got low major, and all of that just kind of bases around budget. I would
Mhm.
say that's kind of the, you've got the blue bloods that they've been there, so they're always going to get those, top 10 players in the country. But other than that, it really is based on budget, how much money you're bringing in and able to turn out. Those are the conferences that you're in. And if you don't have as big of a budget, then you're rated as a low major.
Yeah.
It's kind of one of those things. But again, I mean, you see it in the NCAA tournament all the time, and I think that's why everyone loves it. You've got, David versus Goliath a lot of times, and we're seeing David being able to defeat Goliath quite a bit, and quite a
Yeah.
bit more frequently now. And I think it's based on that transfer stuff, the transfer portal, and everyone's just kind of catching up with everyone. I mean, shoot, when was it? Just a few years ago when Virginia lost to a 16 seed, and they were a 1 seed, and it's the first time ever.
Yeah.
And those games are a lot closer than they ever have been. So,
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, it's interesting. That's why March Madness is so insane. You sit there and you watch games for 12 hours a day for back-to-back weekends, and you see, and guys make whole careers based off that. If you're coming from a low to mid-major conference and your team beats a high major school and they score 25 points, and all of a sudden it's like, whoa, who is this guy? It's like they take over ESPN, and the coach, the coach probably going to go get a big time job off that. So, it's fun. I think that's why what makes March Madness so great is because anybody can beat anybody, neutral court. Like, these teams are good, man. Like, they just won their conference. They're probably sitting at, 25 to 27 wins going into March Madness, and they're feeling good, and hey, they don't have anything to lose. They're going to go out there, they're going to play loose, they're going to play hard, they're going to play the right way. Obviously, they have great coaches, and man, anything can happen. So it's fun to see for sure. So
Well,
it'll keep. I think there'll be more upsets every year moving forward now, the way it's going.
and now too with we see it all the time now. I mean, NIL can change the game for a lot of these programs too. I mean, you can be a quote unquote a low major with a high major NIL budget, and all of a sudden it's like you're able to get anyone you want.
Yeah.
So NIL and I think that's one of the things that a lot of people don't understand is utilize NIL to your advantage, because I think some of those old school coaches don't really want to do it, because they're in the mindset of, well, they get the education and they've never done stuff like that before. I mean, you and I
Yeah.
have talked to those types of coaches before, like, oh, we're
Yeah.
not doing that stuff. But you can utilize that stuff to your major advantage.
Oh
And
yeah.
you can raise your level, you can raise your brand. I mean, there's all kinds of things you can do, especially if you're in a good situation, like a good location. Shoot, I mean, sky's the limit at what you can do and who you can bring on.
For sure. Yeah, no, it'd be interesting. So, we'll definitely have to track the different levels and talk about some of the upsets, and what schools are coming out of nowhere, according to maybe the national media and things like that. But obviously there's a lot of really good teams and a lot of really good players, and all high school and international, and even transfers out there. They should definitely be looking at every level and every option, because they're all really good options. Every level is a good option, so you shouldn't just look down on somebody just because of the conference they play, or the league that they're in, or if it's D1, D2, D3, or JUCO, NAIA. Because if you can play, somebody will find you.
Yep.
Sometimes you just have to find the right opportunity, show you can play, and then keep it going.
Well, that's what we're doing. We're
Yep.
getting more kids the opportunity to be seen and play at different levels. And, that's why we started this whole thing, so that we could open up the opportunities that are out there and get more kids seen by some of these different levels, and, just keep growing the game. Whatever game it is. I know we're just doing basketball right now, but, once we get into other sports and stuff like that, that's why we started it. Keep growing the game, keep growing sports in general. So,
Yep.
but all right, well, that's been episode 4. Thanks for tuning in, and we will be back next week.